All right, so here we go. So y equals 8x plus 10. They want us to find the slope and the y-intercept. I think you already know how to do this from our graphing yesterday, Monday. So what's the slope of that equation? Yeah, the slope is the number next to x, huh? It's just the 8. And the y-intercept? Yeah, that's the other number. That's the 10. That's where if you were going to graph it, you'd start at the 10 and do the 8 over 1, right? So that's all they want there. So we're kind of getting back to normal stuff now. We just had that one weird section. Now it's kind of back to normal graphing. No more domains. Good. Can I move on? Okay, so 4x minus 7y is 5. Same thing, they're asking for slope and y-intercept. So what do we, how do we do that? How do we find slope and y-intercept? Good, you got to get y alone first, right? Remember those, the last one, if you look back, this last one, see how they already had y alone for us, so I could just grab them, it was no problem. But this one, y is not alone. So first, get y alone. That says alone. So first get y alone. So there's the wall. Y is saying I want to be alone. Get rid of this 4x. Get rid of this minus 7. Go ahead and do that. So get the y alone, and then you'll be able to grab the slope and the y-intercept. Be done with the problems. So first step to get y alone? Subtract, yeah, because you save the negative 7, the thing right next to the y, for last. You'll get rid of that by dividing at the end. So subtract 4x from both. Negative 7y, so we got minus 4x plus 5, like that. Last step to get y alone. Divide by minus 7. Right, and by the way, when you divide, let me say a word about that. When you divide by, you include the sign. But when you add, subtract, it's opposite sign. Have you noticed that? You comfortable with that? Whenever we add, subtract to get rid of something, we do the opposite sign, right? Positive 4x, I use negative. But whenever we divide, we use the very same sign. Why? Why? Well, because if I divided by positive 7, what would happen? The 7s would go away, but the minus sign would still be there. Right? 1 minus would just be minus. I don't want that. I want everything gone and y to be totally alone. And that wouldn't be totally alone. So that's why we divide by a minus, because 2 minuses make it plus. Huh? So whenever you divide by the very same sign. Okay, what happens? 2 negatives is positive, 4 7s. Over here, 1 positive, 1 negative is just negative. You okay with what I just did with the signs there? Right? Again, 1 positive, 1 negative on that 5 7s is just negative. The 2 negatives on the 4 7s is positive. Okay, so the slope is right there, 4 7s. The y-intercept is the negative 5 7s. So we just need to get y alone. Good. Okay, so we have 8 minus a fourth y equals 10x. Here's the well. So what do we always do with fractions? I mean, you've only had me for 1 day so far, but if you got my mantra, what am I always doing with fractions? Get them out of there. Just get them out of there. So as soon as you see them, that 4, I'm just going to go top, 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 4, 4, 4. Right? So whenever, that's what I always do. When I see fractions in an equation anyway, there's other times we have to do something different, but with an equation, with an equal sign, you just multiply through by that denominator, right? And see in the middle, that'll cancel it out. We won't have to worry about it anymore. So it'll cancel out in the middle. On the left side here, it's 4 times 8, 32. In the middle, it's just 1y, or just y. On the right side is 4 times 10, 40x. Everybody okay with what? Why is it that it cancels in the middle? Like why doesn't the 4 cancel into the 8? Why don't we go 4 into 8 2 times? Well, it's because the 8 is not in the bottom. You see? If this was 1 over 8, yeah, then I totally would. I would go 4 into 8. Right? Remember, it's cross-canceling. It's cross-canceling. So you have to go top to bottom. This 8, this 4 that I'm multiplying by is really 4 over 1. 4 over 1, 4 over 1. I don't always write it that way, but any whole number, remember, is over 1. So you see the 4 and the 8 are both in the top, aren't they? So that's why they multiply. Whereas these 4s, one's in the top, one's in the bottom, they cancel. Everybody seeing why that happens? And these guys are both, the 10 and the 4 are both in the top, so they multiply, right? Okay, so we got rid of the fractions, that's good. So now y is saying I want to be alone. So what's the next step?
Negative 32.
Yes, exactly.
Plus 40x.
Subtract that 32 from both sides. Minus 1y is 40x minus 32, like that. Last step to get y alone, what do? Divide through by negative 1. So what do we get? Y equals, so the 2 negatives here made positive regular y. What happens over here? When we're dividing by 1, that 1's going to go away, right? We don't leave 1's in the denominator. But 40 divided by 1 and positive over negative, this is going to be negative 40. And here, 2 negatives, positive 32. Is that good? Everybody see that? So therefore, here's the slope, negative 40. Here's the y-intercept, positive 32. We're done. You okay with all them fraction things? Multiplied through by 4. Questions? Yeah.
Whenever you were to get rid of the fraction, you would multiply the denominator.
Exactly. That's exactly right. Yep. So whenever we have a denominator, we just multiply everybody by that denominator. If you have a couple of denominators, say we had a 3 and a 4 in the denominators, then I'd use 12. I'd use them both. And 12, 12, 12 for everybody. Use common denominator. Right? So we have 3y plus 2x plus 9 equals 18 plus 2x. And there's the wall. So same kind of thing. Go ahead and do the steps. Y is saying I want to be alone. So take the steps to get y alone. So to get y alone, subtract 2x and subtract the 9, huh? You can do both at once or one at a time. That'll get rid of that stuff. And so what do we got then? Bring this down. 3y, and this is what, 9, and these guys go away, huh? So x has vanished. Okay, keep going. Y, we're trying to get y alone, so divide by 3. So y equals 9 divided by 3. Whoops, I'm kind of getting scribbly there. It's just 3.
So that's going to be straight line.
Yeah, so let's talk about, so we're good to there, right? We got the thing now. So now they're going to ask us, what's the slope and what's the y-intercept? What do y'all think? What is, write this a little better, what is the slope and what is the y-intercept? Exactly. The slope is 0, and this is the y-intercept. How do you know? Well, because remember, the slope is what's next to x. We have no x. Right? In other words, it's the same thing as if I wrote 0x plus 3, isn't it? This is the slope. It's an S there. That's the slope. Because 0 times x is just 0, it's just gone. That's really what it is. The slope is 0, and the 3 is the y-intercept, actually. Make sense? On that, questions? That's good, not too bad. Okay, so they want me to find the slope of that line. We did some slope with graphs on Monday. Remember what slope is? It's what over what? Yeah, it's rise over run. That's slope, steepness, right? We use it all the time in. For roofs, what do they call the steepness of a roof? We have a different, we don't call it slope. Pitch. Roofers call it the pitch of your roof, right? What do we call the steepness of a road or a mountain? The grade. The grade of the road, right? So those are all just fancy words for slope. They're all steepness. And so it's rise, and all those pitch, grades, all rise over run. So how do we do rise over run? Well, you just go from one dot to the other. Is all you do. So yeah, it doesn't matter. You can start either place. So I'll just start here, for example. And so I'm going to do rise over run. So you go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm trying to go to the other dot. So I went down 9 and over 1, 2. So it's negative 9 halves. I'll show you the other way works also, but everybody good first with that? So I went from one dot to the other. Down 9 over 2. Rise over run. See why it's negative? Because it was down.
And the
Yeah.
circles are open at dots.
Yeah, well, you know what? On this one, it's not like that where we have to worry about the endpoints and the parenthesis bracket stuff. They're just kind of making the points big so we can see them. It's not like those other graphs were. Yeah, good question. So what if I went the other way? What if I started with the bottom dot? That'll work also, yeah. So I'll go up 1, 2. Now I'm going up, so it's going to be positive, huh? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, of course, but it's up 9 because it went up. But now I'm going back 2. So you see how I would get positive 9 over negative 2, but that's the same thing. You know how one negative in a fraction, it doesn't matter where the negative's at, top or bottom, it's all the same thing. It's negative, right? One negative is just negative. So that's just a negative fraction, 9 halves. Either way, same. The math Excel will take either one of those. It knows they're the same. And you would know, right, in a multiple choice test, if you had this answer and they had that, you'd grab it. You'd know that it's right. Same thing. Good. So go either way. Rise over run from one dot to the other. So if you've had some algebra before, you probably have seen this. So 9, 7, and 10 minus 8. So now, same question. They want me to find slope, but they're not giving me a picture. How do you find slope when there's no picture? Yeah, have you seen it? It is, yeah. There's a formula, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That comes from the same idea. That's rise over run again. Because that's what? Why is that rise over run? Because rise is the difference in heights. That's why it's y2 minus y1. And x2 minus x1 is the difference in horizontal positions. It's the run. It's the sideways movement. So what we're saying is, let's go back and put these on the graph. What is this x1, x2 stuff? Well, this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2. It just means the first point's x and y value, and the second point's x and y value. You with me? So now I just plug those into the formula. I just plug them in here. So I'm going to go y2 minus 8 minus y1. So watch out, we have subtraction symbols built into the formula. That's in addition to anything we plug in that's negative or positive or whatever. x2 over minus x1. Is that good so far? Everybody see what I'm doing there? So what does that become? Minus 15 over 1. So that's just minus 15. We don't leave 1s in the bottom, right? Dividing by 1, 1 goes into 15 times. And there we go. Questions on that? Have you seen that before? Difference of y's over difference of x's, rise over run. Good. How you doing? We're about an hour and a half in. This is where you start to fade. Is my voice fading into the Charlie Brown teacher? The wah wah wah. So you doing okay? You okay? Remember we voted on the no break all the way to 310. Boom. Right? You really okay with that? All right. Just last. Okay. So we've got negative 17, negative 12, and negative 18, negative 16. Yeah. And they're asking us for slope. And you know the deal on slope, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, this is x1, y1, x2, y2. Take it from there. So watch the signs. The only thing that'll trip you up is probably the signs. So be careful. There's subtraction symbols built into the formula. Right? That's in addition to all the things we're plugging in that have negative signs also. So y2, y1, minus 16, minus 12, with a subtraction symbol in the middle. And x2, x1, we good so far? You know those double negatives are going to become positive, right? Everybody good with how I plugged everything in? So you got the original subtraction symbols from the formula. And then all the negative items, so this will become minus 16 plus 12. The bottom will be minus 18 plus 17, right? The double negative is plus. So what is that? Negative 4 over negative 1. Final answer? Just regular positive 4, huh? Two negatives make positive. 1 goes into 4 times. You okay with all that? All that mess?
That's not a mess compared to what we did like a half an hour ago.
Yeah, I like this better, huh? All right, I'll flash off that if you're good. Ooh, let's see. So it says the ramp rises 2.6 vertically and 5.2 horizontally. Give the slope as a grade. It's like, the grade of a road. All right, so what's the slope? Well, you know what slope is. What slope? Rise over run. Slope is rise over run. Rise over run, meaning vertical over horizontal, right? So vertical, 2.6, over horizontal, 5.2. Right? I think it's half. Yeah, it just comes out 0.5. Just comes out 0.5. Good so far in your calculator if you divide those? Can you get 0.5? But I can't stop there. Why not? What do they want? Look here at the answer box. They want a percentage, don't they? So I got to change that decimal to a percentage. So what happens when you change decimals to percentages? 2 places, right? That's why there's 2 zeros in the symbol, 2 places. So it moves 2 places. It's 50%. right? It went back 1, 2 places. So it went 1 beyond the edge. That brought in the 0, right? 50%.
My Casio natural display tells me it's 1/2.
Right, you hit the SD button,
Yeah.
and it changes. So there we go. We good with that? 50%, so 50% slope. Let's see here. All right, so they give me this one. Basically, they say average rate of change. That's fancy talk for slope. I don't know if you've ever thought about it, but rates or speeds are always fractions, right? If you say, how fast did that car drive? 50 miles an hour. How fast did that pitcher pitch? 97 miles an hour. That's miles per hour. That's a fraction, right? How fast can you do your Math Excel homework? I can do 12 problems per hour. That's a fraction, isn't it? How fast you do something. Rates are always fractions, thus they can be slopes. So when they say, give me the slope, when they say, give me the rate, they're really saying, give me the slope. Because a rate is a slope. It's a fraction. They're both fractions. So they want slope. They want rise over run. So from this dot to that dot, just because they highlighted those 2 dots, I'm going to say the rise is what? 1, 2, 3. And the run is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 3 sevens. So that's, do they want a fraction? I don't think, I think they just want 3 sevens. There we go. So 3 sevens. And then part 2, there's one part remaining if you notice down here. They say give the units. Give the units. I know because it says also state the units. So what do they mean units? Well, they mean look here and look here. Rise over run. Rise is Y. So what are the Y units? Pounds. Right? And what are the, run is X, run is down here. What are the X units? Bags of feed. Pounds per bag. In other words, that's 3 sevens pounds per bag is the units there. Y units over X units. Rise units over run units. Pounds over bags of feed. So there we go. They're trying to give you a real life example. So what that would mean is that, what would that mean?
That one thing.
Weight gained in pounds. I don't know. What could that be real life? Number of bags of feed used. So they're feeding some animal. And when they give it more bags, the weight goes up. And they're saying it gains 3 sevens pound per bag of feed, I guess. So be a real life. So here's a real life example of slope and connecting it. That one, yeah. All right. So take a look there. Basically slope. Blah, 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 blah. They say rate. As I already told you, rate is slope. So they want you to do slope. You know slope is rise over run. So go ahead, give it a try. Go from this dot to that dot or vice versa. Doesn't matter. Do rise over run. That was a little tricky. Let me give you a second. You got to figure out the jumps. Give that a try there. All right, how much is each of these jumps? Did you figure that out? Am I going too quick? So notice if you come over here and you go from 0, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jumps up to 42. 7 jumps to 42. So how much is each of those jumps? Yeah, 42 divided by 7 is 6. Each of those jumps must be 6. Is that good? We all seeing that? This is 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36, 42. They're all going by 6, aren't they? See how I figured that out? 7 jumps to get to 42. So 42 divided by 7. Each jump must be 6. Okay, so what? Well, I gotta do slope now. I got to do slope. Let me put these back on. This is 36, 30, 24, 18, 12, 6. Okay, so starting from right here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's not 6. That's bad counting. It's 6, 12, 18, right? It's down 36, really. And it's over, each of these must be 1. And it's over 4. So it's down 36 over 4. Everybody see that? Down 36 over 4. So, -9. Easy enough? Once you find the jumps, huh?